Well, good evening, everyone. I'm excited to have you back for another segment of Thriving Together. You know, I host these conversations every Thursday at 7 p.m. And tonight's call with Miss Tiffany, and she's going to introduce herself a little bit more in a second. It was actually pre recorded because I'm going to be spending some time with some family and friends this evening, but I did not want to miss this opportunity to bring you none other than Miss Elder this evening. So tell everybody, hey, Tiffany.
Hello, everyone. So glad to be here. Thank you for having me, LaRonda.
Absolutely. I told Tiffany that I was going to embarrass her, but I didn't tell her what I meant about it. And you're probably going to laugh at me, but Tiffany, I am a huge fan of yours. It's almost like inviting you to the show was having a local celebrity on for me because when I got to, I met you during one of our Tribor events
Yes.
and just seeing how you moved and your story and you being a general contractor in this male dominated field, it has just been for me all eyes on Tiffany. So thank
Oh,
you for
thank
being
you.
with me this evening.
Oh, wow.
So tell
Thank you.
the people about yourself.
It's challenging talking about myself. Okay. Uh, Tiffany from South Side of Chicago moved here to North Carolina a while ago. I won't say how many years. For my MBA at Carolina, came out and was just really excited about what was happening in the area. So I launched a real estate and development firm. Eventually got my broker's license, so I am a realtor.
Mhm.
And following that, acquired a general contractor's license here. So I am a builder, developer. Typically on the construction side, we're doing ground up residential, ground up small multifamily, a lot of historic restoration, tax credit projects, and we love commercial, like office retail, things of that sort. So we've done some cool projects in downtown Durham. Look forward to doing more commercial builds. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Well, again, I get excited because it's like I love to see women winning, and you are winning. And to learn what got you into it and just your experience, I wanted you to share a little bit about that. Because when people think about getting into real estate, they think about being a real estate agent. But
Yes.
you made a decision to jump in with both feet, and
Yes.
you are covering it like really in all facets. So talk about that.
Oh, wow. I think my interest in real estate started years ago. Again, born and raised in Chicago, and was there until leaving after high school for college. And
Mhm.
I knew of some folks who owned real estate. My parents were real estate investors on the side of their primary careers in education. And just I was never a part of that, but I heard conversations on the side, and I always knew that real estate, especially owning real estate, rental real estate as an investor was going to be something that I wanted to do. So that was always in the back of my head.
Mhm.
Fast forward to coming out of Keenan Flagler, which by chance is the best MBA program on the planet.
Okay.
If anyone has a chance to visit, I loved my 2 years there, and I'm happy to chat with anyone who's interested in pursuing an MBA at Carolina. But when I came out, I was really blessed to have a couple job offers. But I realized I did not want to leave Carolina at that point, and my job offers were outside of Carolina and back in the Midwest, which is a great area, but I just fell in love with everything here. And
Mhm.
the other thing was I had more of an itch after finishing up to become an entrepreneur. Didn't know exactly what that would look like. Had no prior experience in real estate other than hearing some fleeting conversations here and there, but I dove in head first and started out wholesaling, then started rehabbing and flipping, as they say, or quick sale, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
But very quickly learned that the road to real freedom and wealth building is through buy and hold. So I always tell people when they get into real estate, yes, the cool stuff is, flipping properties. We see that on television. We've actually done a couple shows for that. But the real wealth comes from using what you earn in quick turns to fuel your buy and hold strategy, because that's where the changes really come. Flipping property is another job. So if you're trying to get away from having like a job, then you can only do that so much, because you got to find it, then you got to fix it, then you got to sell it, then you're not going to make another dime until you find it, fix it, and sell it again. So you've sort of created a cycle for yourself. And then it stemmed from there. I became a general contractor just because I couldn't, at the time, 20 years ago, aging myself, find reliable people.
I am right there with you.
Find reliable people that I could trust with my eyes closed and my back turned to get projects done. And I said, you know what, let me just become that person for my projects. And then selling my projects and people seeing the work, they started asking if they could hire us for their projects. And it sort of just took on a life of its own. And then, went from there. Grew from there.
You just really listening and trusting the process, doors just opened up for you to really unfold and become bigger than you imagined it would.
Yes, absolutely.
Now you said something about shows. You said you've done a couple of shows. I'm gonna go back to some other pieces. But what about these shows?
Most recently we did Hillary Farr. Not the first show that she did, the second. Oh my gosh, it's horrible that I have so much going on in my brain right now that
and I'm trying to remember which show it is, but go ahead. What's the concept of the show? And maybe that'll help me.
It is Tough Love with Hillary Farr.
Yes. Okay.
We did an episode with her last year. It was actually a client that I had done a renovation for about 8 years ago. And they were asked to do the show, and they said, okay, we have some contractors for you. And they said, no, we want to bring our contractor back. So I came in and did a second renovation for them. The premise of the show is taking a home and having Hillary come in and give tough love on the redesign for that home to really make it work for the family. And at the time that I actually helped them purchase the home on the brokerage side and switch hats and renovated the home, did a historic renovation, a tax credit renovation for them. They were about to get married. Fast forward to today, they're married with 2 kids. So you can imagine that the space and the how they're using their home has changed, and so they needed a renovation. And it's gorgeous. Like it's a beautiful home already. Just I love historic homes, but their kitchen is nice.
I'm gonna have to look for that show then, because it's like I love all things renovation, but I leave it up to the people that know what they're doing.
I think it's season 2, episode 5 or 6. It's called Nick and Nikki's Toy Takeover. My clients' names super cute. Nick and Nikki are the clients, and I think it's called Toy Takeover. I think it's episode 5 or 6 on the second season. It was just so amazing to see her walk in, and she started crying, and that's when you know someone loves their space.
Yes, and it says a lot about you that you helped them in 3 ways now. You helped them buy the property, then they trusted you with the renovation, and then they brought you back to do this piece. So you've really made an impression on them. And I think it's not just because of the work, but just the person that you are as well.
Thank you.
So kudos to you on that. Yay. But I did hear you when you said that really the part that gives you freedom is the investing when it's buy and hold. Because I guess when you're flipping is essentially like us as a real estate agent. With every closing, you're unemployed again. With every flip and sell, you're unemployed again. So, so you got to be diversified in what you're doing. So you're investing. When did you finally get started with the investing piece, and what's been the highs and lows of that?
Interestingly enough, and Lord, please don't change this, but I've never had to evict anyone. I feel that I think I sort of got from my parents is making sure that there's transparency and understanding with your tenants. Like, look, bad things happen to good people. You
Mm-hmm.
know, things aren't always going to be a cakewalk. I'll work with you if you work with me. Don't hide from me. You know, don't go ghost. Don't, you know, all those things. You know,
Mm-hmm.
let me know in advance of things happening and let's work around it and make it work. Especially like when COVID hit and everyone was concerned about, you know, oh, can bills be paid? Can rent be paid? Things like that. That's when you really have to just, you know, bear down and figure out how to work around things and make it work for everyone. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe in that. When someone moves into a unit, I I make myself available, just to chat with them and say, hey, this is a beautiful space. If something breaks, let me know before it becomes a bigger problem than it needs to be. You
Right.
know, these are your expectations of me, I'm sure, and these are my expectations of you. And as long as we're both on that page, we'll get along
Mm-hmm.
well. You know,
Yeah.
I think transparency solves a lot of problems, not only in real estate, just in life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if people are willing to be that way.
So you're managing your own properties then, or okay.
Yes,
So I like the way you're handling it because you're entering not in just a tenant agreement, but a partnership with them when you're going in and having that
absolutely.
conversation about the space.
That's what it is. Like some people view income property as transactional, and maybe in
Mm-hmm.
some cases, it, you know, it depending on the type of property. If you're looking at industrial or something like that, it's more transactional. But when you're looking at a space where people are going to be living and that's their home, you know,
Yeah.
I do believe that it should be more relational. And the person, whether they manage on their own or if they have someone else manage for them, just depends on their personality and if they're comfortable having those conversations.
Mm-hmm. I will say, Tiffany, I have got to stop talking about it. What is it? Don't talk about it, be about it kind of thing. Because investing has been in my spirit for a long time, but I'm one of those to where I, it's like no, I changed my mind. It's not the time, but it's something I need to do. But
Mhm.
on the real estate agent side, I've sold some of the rental properties that are out there, and I'm thinking, what did you have people living in? And then I'm thinking, am I going to be able to make money? Because I can't have people living in stuff like this.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge.
Yeah, that's a rule for me, which actually one of my mentors told me not to have a rule for me. But I think it just depends. I don't have properties that I wouldn't feel comfortable living in myself. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, and maybe it's because I'm a general contractor, I make sure that certain things are done on the property and they're at a certain level before putting a tenant in, because I don't feel like running around fixing toilets, calling my guys to fix lighting, etc. And my opinion is if those things are in good working order when they move in and the expectation is
Mm-hmm.
that the tenant maintains that, then you don't, like,
Yeah.
I very rarely get maintenance calls. So, but that's because I make sure that properties are at a certain level before the tenant moves in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, gotcha. Now you said you do residential and commercial projects. What has been your favorite project or something that you are like most proud of?
Uh, probably that's hard because you know I love the work that I do, so I'm trying to
Mhm.
pick a favorite. My favorite might be my first large one, which is actually where I'm sitting now, which isn't large anymore.
Mhm.
But at the time, and this is residential. The home that I bought that I currently live in, when I first purchased it, I wish I actually have photos, a stack of actual in hand photos here that I
Oh,
keep on the
really?
coffee. When I bought this home, it was
Mhm.
in bad shape. It was just more home than the prior owner could maintain. She had two cats and a dog. They didn't go outside very much, obviously, by the smell in the house and the stains on the floor.
Ooh. So
I
let's
leaned
just
on the
say I would have turned on my heel from already
oh,
by what you
oh
just told
yeah,
me, but you had
yeah.
different classes. So go ahead, keep going.
I remember leaning on the wall in the kitchen and I fell into the adjoining bathroom because it was so much termite damage throughout the house that like
Really?
I had to rebuild more than half of the foundation. There's a huge wraparound porch I had to demo and frame out and rebuild. Like it had beautiful historic features. It's a over 100-year-old Victorian, and it had beautiful features, but it just had not been cared for because it was just a lot of home for her to care for.
Right.
And arguably, I was being told, you should probably just tear it down and rebuild. But I walked in and saw all the trim and, the dental molding and the columns and all the fun stuff that folks who love historic properties love to see.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it took me almost a year to bring it back. It was my first big historic tax credit restoration project. But it turned out beautifully. So I'd have to say it's my favorite because it was my first.
Yeah. That was, I guess, also kind of work of love, because it's like you were restoring something and getting it back to the beauty it originally had. And if it looks as good as that painting that I keep staring at behind your head, then I know it looks good. It's such a beautiful painting. It is. So did you live there during the construction, or it was just too much that you couldn't have done that?
It was too much. Yeah, I had to detach utilities, and it was a lot. But it was kind of cool because it was in a neighborhood that had not yet realized its beauty. And this was one of the first 2 renovations in the neighborhood. And then after that, you saw neighbors painting their house and, just doing the things that matter, because I think they saw the potential and because beautiful historic homes. Like I grew up in a historic neighborhood in Chicago, and coming here, I was looking for that, and I finally found it. And, I saw the neighborhood kind of start to blossom, and the owners start to say, hey, what can I do to my house too? So that was cool to see.
You gave them a spark in the neighborhood.
Yes.
So what's it been like for you getting, because like I said, this, what you are in and what you do is a male dominated field. What has been, I guess, what has that been like? Let me get my words out. Just really gaining the respect in the field as a female general contractor and developer.
Yes. In the beginning, if I think back to 20 years ago, I was hazed a little bit. Because folks weren't used to, imagine back then I was much younger. I was a female.
Yeah.
And I'm Black. And in an area, all the things. In an area where you didn't see someone like me walking in with a general contractor's license and doing the types of projects that we were doing, residential and commercial back then. I remember in East Durham in the commercial corridor, we did a commercial project probably 15 years ago now. And I remember having interesting conversations with a framing crew and some other folks who weren't used to getting their checks cut by someone who looked like me. And I could tell that they stiffened up a little bit with it. And, but you want to build those relationships with people and, work to find common ground so that you can move a project forward. And, in the end, it's about getting a good project done that you can drive by years later and, be proud about. But it was challenging in the beginning, just because of that. But I think on the flip side, it might have been beneficial too, because everyone knew who we were, Think of that. So I think it could have been beneficial as well on that end.
I've always, when we've interacted, it's always been so graceful. So now I'm trying to imagine you on site with that.
Not graceful on site.
I was like, what does that side look like? Peek around a 2x4 and see what that side looks like.
I mean, it's always fun being on site. It's fun seeing something either created from nothing in the case of new construction, or seeing something transform, and like being on site with guys and helping that happen. I mean, that's always fun. I used to I was so eager to learn everything back then. Like I wanted
Yeah.
to be out there, like, you know, just like I was on habitat sites when I was learning how to frame and stuff like that. I wanted to do that on site. And the guys were like, okay, boss lady, which they call me boss lady. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, boss lady, let us do the work. Put the hammer down, please. I was so excited to be in the middle of everything, but it's nice over time to build crews that you can trust. You know, some of my subcontractors, like my PM&E guys, some of them I've worked with for 20 years. Like it's great to see our projects grow because they're growing too. I love that part of it.
But what's cool about that too is that they saw you out there willing to swing a hammer. So that's like,
Oh,
you
I
know,
was in the crawl space when we were waterproofing, coming out muddy. I to this day, I love a good crawl space.
You better than me, because let me see some cobwebs and stuff, and I'm like, woo, boy, I love a home inspector.
Spaces they're so peaceful. I don't know, man. I'm a
Did
weirdo.
you say crawl spaces were peaceful?
They are. They're cross stitches. Peaceful.
I believe you. I'm trying to imagine some that I have been in, and I'm not sure I found peace there. I was looking for something to come out. But that's cool though for them to see you come out all muddy, webbed up, slinging a hammer. It's like, you know, okay, that's boss lady. She's not she can get things done, but she's not above what we're doing. It's almost like a camaraderie it just builds.
Oh, 100%.
What would you say are like have been the keys to your success over the years?
Transparency, like with my crews, with my clients. I've heard a couple times from clients that I have one client, we've done three or four. I think I'll say three just to be on the safe side, projects for his organization. And he said, you know, I really appreciate working with you because of transparency and because you take the time to explain. I don't know if that's a woman thing, you know, just wanting for understanding. But, you know, I think transparency helps. It helps build trust with clients and folks that you work with. So I would say that's probably top of the list or very close to the top of the list. And also just wanting the best for a project. You know, I think that goes a long way. Again, it's not just transactional, it's relational. And I think that's part of the reason why, like, we've never advertised. Like, I don't advertise, but we stay busy. And I think that's due to building relationships. And, you know, all of our construction work is referral based. You know, people call because they've seen our work or they've talked to someone that we've worked with, and then they give us a call. I sat down with a gentleman yesterday about building out one of those golf simulator spaces here in the Triangle, and he was referred from someone. So it's always nice to realize that matters a lot. And I think it's because of transparency and people knowing that you want the best for them and for their project.
That is truly the best compliment ever, to get a referral and have people. I can never remember her name. She's like a C-suite businesswoman, and she talks about people taking your paper into the room and they're talking about you in spaces that you're not even in. So that's the ultimate compliment that you can have.
It is.
Now, for people listening that are interested in even doing what you're doing or a fraction of what you're doing, if you could talk to younger self, what you've learned over the years, what would you tell her getting into this stuff, getting into the field?
I can't say that there weren't moments that I was like, Tiffany, what are you doing? You know, like, you know, especially when you had those awkward moments, you know, in the beginning when I was being hazed a little bit. You know, I would say stick with it. You know, don't give up. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and you're going to be able to encourage other people to get into the space who might not otherwise, just because, you know, people are comfortable when they see someone familiar, you know, in that space. So I would encourage myself to keep going. I would encourage myself. I go through spurts. I take calculated risks when it comes to projects or investing. You know, I'll let a client know, hey, I haven't done this project before, but we have an amazing team and we can figure it out if you're comfortable with that. Because I always want to fully inform. Same thing on the investing side. You know, if I haven't done a type of project, I'll do something that stretches me a little bit so that I can learn something new. But there have been times that for one reason or another, I've been really conservative and I haven't stretched or reached. You know, maybe I just had a lot going on, or maybe there were other things that I was focused on. So I would probably tell myself to take a few more risks along the way and not to turn down some of the opportunities that came along in the past that I've turned down. I'd say, you know, you might want to consider that a little bit more.
How about those investors that are on the fence like me? What would you say to me in 2025?
In 2025, so it's challenging because I always tell myself, especially with my brokerage clients, I'm not here to convince you to buy. I'm not here to convince you to invest. I'm here to facilitate it once you've made the decision for yourself. And I'm here to help you navigate around those potholes and issues that come along. But I will say, just if you look at the US in general and how wealth is divvied out, you know, property ownership and you know, primary residence for one, but investment property ownership kind of is one of the things that you see for folks who've gotten to a comfortable place in life. For a lot of them,
right,
to the point where they have the option to walk away from whatever their daily tasks are that are keeping them comfortable. Like if you have a very high paying career, that's great. But again, if you stop working, that income is likely going to stop. So, you know, passive income from real estate is something that can replace that if you build on that, you know, over time. So I would say for someone like Rhonda or anyone else who is considering the same advice that I would give myself back in the day, which is consider taking that risk, taking that step, take a calculated risk. You know, don't just dive in head first, like, oh, okay, I just want to own an investment property and I'm gonna just buy this and make it happen. But don't, you know, yes, bad things can happen.
Right.
But especially for a real estate professional, you know the people, you know the things that can fix the bad things that can happen, you know, even more so than an everyday person. So I would say, especially for you, really consider it. Call me so we can talk about it, you know, but you know, starting to build a portfolio, small or large, whatever your heart's desire is, can be life-changing. It's what can give you the freedom to step away and to do the things you really want to do.
Yeah. And you guys, the passive income is income you are not working for. I know some people talk about side hustles as being, you know, I'm trying to get passive income. Well, if you're having to do a thing, you know, on a regular to make it happen, that's not passive income. But I feel you. It's like I'm not getting any younger and I don't want to have to work.
Yeah.
That's the right way to say I don't want to have to work at this point.
You want to be work optional. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's going to help me there.
So we have to talk, Pam.
We do. We have to talk. We have to talk. I'm gonna come your way because there's so many little restaurants and stuff on that end I just love. So I am totally up to having conversation over a good bite to eat.
That works for me.
Absolutely. Well, I've been showing your information here off and on, but I want to pop it up and just let it sit there for a second and bring attention to it because as Tiffany shared, she does residential, multifamily, and commercial projects. And I want to make sure you have her information. You can check her out. She's a phenomenal woman, and I have enjoyed getting to know her from afar, but I look forward to connecting with you seriously and having more intentional conversations. And REALTIST Week is coming up. Have they tagged you for REALTIST Week?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
so I got to put that up there too because more than likely you're probably doing the investing session.
I think there were
You
two
done yet?
sessions. Yeah.
Okay. So Realtist Week is coming up, you guys. So Tiffany and I are both members of the Triangle Board of Realtists. And Realtist Week is like our, I don't know even what to call it. It's a full week of events. It's truly something for mind, spirit, business, and about creating generational wealth. And you can register at triboardpresents.com. Where Tiffany will be is at the Building Black Wealth Tour on that Saturday at Nehemiah in Durham. So we've got sessions from ABCs of home buying to what to do with Big Mama's house and um, what else? I'm trying to think of selling and a little bit of everything. We've even got an event now for youth this year. That's new. I don't know if you heard that. This
I didn't see
is for youth about them learning about their finances and saving. And then we're going to roll that into understanding their ability to use what they're saving to buy instead of wasting it in renting if
Yes.
the situation
Yes.
allows. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome.
So y'all register, register, register. So before I let you go, is there anything you would like to share with folks that's kind of like parting words?
Um, I think along the same vein that we were just talking about, I real estate and investing is sort of like that armchair conversation people always want to have, and everyone's an armchair
Mhm.
expert, but sometimes folks are a little timid to dive in. And I would
Yeah.
say, consider it, gather the people around you who are already in it, who aren't gatekeeping, who are willing to share information, and put your toe in the water and see what works for you, because again, it can be life changing. It can give you freedom. For me, freedom is time freedom. For
Yeah.
someone else, freedom could be something else. And I'll use the example. Recently, I had a health issue with someone in my family, and I had to fly back and forth a couple times a month to help with
Mhm.
that. And I was able to do that, because of
Yeah.
real estate, because of investing, and not have to worry about it, and take the time away and pretty sizable swaths of time take away to help and take care of that. So
Mhm.
I would say define, my piece of advice would be define what's important to you and see if real estate is something that can help you to do that. And then just start having conversations. Like I'm having an event tonight in Durham. I don't know if I can speak on that. I think this airs after the event, but I'm having an event tonight where I'm just bringing
Mhm.
together people who have an interest in real estate so that we can talk about, hey, whether you're in it or whether you want to be in it, whether you want to expand your portfolio, whether you want to start a portfolio, let's just talk about it. Let's talk about the fears you have. Let's talk about what you need to get over the hump so that you can be part of it. And I think just having those conversations and making a decision can be huge.
Yeah, it is. And find someone like Tiffany, and even myself and other members of Tribor and your community, they get granular with it. Because, like you said, the gatekeeping, people talk at a high level, but they don't really dig into the details. And if you find somebody that's willing to pour into you just step by step and almost holding your hand through the process, then that is definitely what you're in need of. Most definitely. But thank you. You made my day, my evening with me. I appreciate you being on. I really do.
Oh, thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, have a great evening, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Okay, you too.